Commission meeting to order this Tuesday, October 15, 2013. It is now 4:31 for the record. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence after. Commissioner Meyer?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Here. Here.
here.
Here. For the record, 4 present, 1 absent. Number 3, declaration of conflict of interest. Since there is none, number 4, communications. Yes, could you please, Cynthia?
Thank you very much for your role in helping us become homeowners. We are very grateful for the down payment assistance program. Thank you for caring for the city and helping its residents. Thank you, Ms. Hinojosa, for your professionalism. You always return every one of my phone calls. Something as simple as digital
That is Jen Hinojosa's mother. Just for the record.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. That's a very nice letter for someone to take the time to acknowledge. Number 5 are minutes.
Mr. President. Mr. President, make a motion to make a motion for our minutes of October 1st, 2013.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Soto Presley. Do we have a second on it?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Nevejas. Is there any corrections or additions to this minutes? Okay. Since there's no corrections or any additions or discussion on it, can we have a roll call then on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Minutes carries 4 yes, 1 absent. Number 6, homebound conditional forgivable loan approval.
Commissioners, this is for the 4 homebound conditional forgivable loan approvals, and they are all present. Kale, Brian, Jose, Sunday, you guys want to come up?
Is there one more?
Jose.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out on a crummy night. We appreciate you taking advantage of our program. And you guys have any questions, commissioners?
Mr. Akavi, is that how you pronounce your name? Okay. Like the virus protection thing?
Just like it.
I've been wanting to ask you that since I saw this. How did you hear about our program?
A friend of ours who bought a house in Hammond recommended it to us.
Okay. And what about Mr. Turner? How did you hear about the program?
Same way.
Same way? And Jose, I'm going to just say Jose because I don't want to butcher your last name. How did you hear about the program?
Here's a program from Jennifer informed. person is helping me with find a house.
Oh, okay.
The realtor.
A realtor? Your realtor?
Yeah.
Who's your realtor?
Dan Roman.
Who?
Don Ramon.
Dan Roman.
Oh, yeah, I know her. I know her well. Okay. And last but not least, Sunday, how did
Yep.
you hear about the program?
Through my relative,
And who's that?
Sophia Mason.
I don't know her, but that's okay. You know, I just noticed all of these are in Hassville. Did you guys notice that? All four of them in Hassville. That's a popular place to be
I
these
get that a
days.
lot.
Huh?
I get Hessville a lot.
Yeah, I see that. Okay. I don't really have any other questions for anyone. What about the other commission?
Well, like I said, I welcome all of you, and especially Brian and Jose. You know, I see you reside outside of the city, and we welcome you purchasing home in Hammond. So thank you for coming to Hammond.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the homebound conditional forgivable loan approval for the 4 applicants.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on it? Okay, then, can we have a roll call on the homebound, please?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, subordination request approval.
Commissioners, this is for a subordination request for Esther Bowersox. Yeah, Esther, if you want to come. She is just lowering her interest rate. I know it's, $30 she's saving, but over a time, I mean, you're saving thousands, kind of, so.
Yeah, I'd like to see these type, no cash back, just, lowering the interest rate.
Good for you.
No questions?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for the subordination request approval for Esther, and I can't pronounce your last name.
Bowersox.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion on it, can we have a roll call then, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Esther, for
Thank-
coming out tonight. Number 8, authorization to sell Claude Street shelter located at 5515 Claude Street and Cape's House located at 662 Sibley.
Commissioners, we have had interest in these 2 buildings from the current, I should say tenants that's already in there. The Redevelopment Commission does own each property. One is being run both of them are being run as shelters, one on Claude Street and then the other one is on Sibley. So they're interested in purchasing those buildings. So all we would need is authorization to sell those 2 buildings. Once we get what do we have to do? The attorney has to put an ad together for us to advertise in the newspaper. So once that happens, then we'll be able to advertise, but we need authorization to move forward to do that.
Commissioners, we've had this come up now on a few different occasions where we have organizations that are using our property to run their organization. There's issues coming up with the building itself, which we technically own, but we don't have the funds for the upkeep of the building, and they don't own the property, so legally they're not supposed to, they can do certain things here and there, but when it comes to major issues with the building, like a new roof or some sort of mechanical system, you're getting into a lot of money that some of these organizations they're not for profits, so they don't have that kind of funding. So what we think is appropriate is put the bid in the newspaper. They can submit to try and purchase the property. If they become the owners of the property, then they can actually take a mortgage out on the property if they like and use those funds for the upkeep of the building itself. Obviously, the two you have in front of you are very important organizations. They do a lot of good for the city of Hammond, and you could see this coming up again in the future because we just had a meeting with the YMCA, and we own a building on Holman Avenue, and it's the same situation. So more and more, we're always going to kind of err on the side of let's sell the property to somebody else so they could take care of it, less cost for city, and in this case, Redevelopment Commission, and in the end, it's a win for both sides.
So what type of request or motion does our commission need from from the commissioners?
It would be a motion to authorize us to put an RFP together for 5515 Cloud Street and for 662 Sibley Street.
Can I just say so moved?
Yes.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Is any more discussion or questions? Okay, since there's not, it seems simple enough. Can we have a roll call then, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes, 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you, Commissioners. Oh, and with that process, we will order appraisals, as we always do for an RFP. We have to get 2 appraisals, so we know what the asking price. We take the average of 2 appraisals.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Number 9, approval of consultants from the RFQ submittals.
Commissioners, I handed out prior to the meeting a recommendation list. Myself and our 3 department heads from Planning and Development, as well as other department heads in the city that we reached out to ask for their opinions, came up for this list of recommendations for the 5 different RFQ requests for qualifications that we put out in the newspaper. In some situations, for example, lawn maintenance and redevelopment attorney, we only received 1 bid. So there really wasn't much of a determination there. In other occasions, with environmental consultants and appraisers, we're actually putting more on the list than we have in the past. And basically, all that means is if we have a project that we think there's one company that specializes in a certain area, then we could use that company because they're on the list. So I think environmental consultants, I think we've had 3 in the past, and we said, why don't we do 4 this time, authorize 4. And appraisers, I believe we've had 3 in the past, and we are authorizing Kovacevic, if I'm saying that right, Kovacevic and Company, Inc. Kovacevic, thank you, as a 4th appraiser. Environmental consultants, we reached out to Rod Novak, our director of the Hammond Department of Environmental Management, for his help and assistance. So he helped us with choosing these consultants. And financial consultants, we've only had Sender and Company in the past, but we had a submittal by SB Friedman out of Chicago, and once we reviewed their submission, we really saw they specialized in a lot of things that we haven't necessarily done in the city of Hammond, but that we've been talking about doing, such as new market tax credit projects and the EB5 program and things like that we don't have a lot of experience with. So we thought it made sense to put them on the list as well. The only other thing I'll say is, for each one of these, we typically have a certain amount of funds. Doesn't matter how many consultants we put on here. We still only have the same amount of funds. So we won't spend more money because there's more people on the list. It just gives us more options. I wish we'd have had more submissions for redevelopment attorney, but we are where we are, and we'll make the best of it.
So the couple that you gained, you could possibly use them then, so that's good.
Once they're approved on the list, we can use them for projects. And it doesn't mean, for example, for lawn maintenance, we only had 1 submittal. That doesn't mean every single lot in the city, they're the only group that we can use. But what it does mean is if there's say there's an emergency situation, we're having a festival in downtown Hammond and we need something cleaned up quickly, we would turn to Myers because they're the only ones that submitted to work on that. But if we have properties, which we do, that we cut on a regular basis, in that situation, we'll put a bid out for specific properties, and then we'll let everybody bid, and they can give specific amounts for that particular property, just so you kind of have a better understanding of that. It does not mean that Myers will have every landscaping job that Redevelopment Commission has.
Okay. I don't know if there's any more questions or discussions. I guess I have one for Attorney Westland. Well, the financial, environment, lawn maintenance, appraiser, and redevelopment attorney, you want us to approve each one and
I think you can
name
do
the
one,
company?
I think you can do one motion and just list it out what you're asking to be approved.
Okay.
It would be a motion to approve the financial consultant, environmental, lawn, appraiser, and attorney.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the consultants for RFQ submittals for environmental consultant, redevelopment attorney, financial consultant, lawn maintenance, and appraiser.
Okay.
Or do we have to?
I think, just
You need
for
a-
clarification,
you need the-
it's pursuant to the recommended list that you have in front of you.
You want to say the names?
Well, either say the names or, let's make the list part of the record. Either way, as long as it gets in there.
So,
Say the names, you can just make the list part of the record.
okay, make the list part of the record.
Okay.
All right, I was going to clear that up, but thank you. We have a motion for the Hammond Redevelopment RFQ recommendation list by Commissioner Navejas. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Myrick. Can we have a roll call then, please?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes, 4 yes and 1 absent.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, number 10, our reports. Bill Talon, do you have anything for us?
We have a few things that we have to do on new and unfinished business. I just want to bring that up. And besides that, nothing specific really, just working with some of the same groups we've been working with at our Oxbow Landing site, moving along slowly but surely. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing, no major announcement at this time.
What's going on in Whitmar? Been asking you quite some time.
Dave is going to answer that question. He just put the stop sign on me.
It's been in litigation and still is in litigation. Nothing has changed from that.
Good answer. That's why we recommended him as a redevelopment attorney.
Well, we had the Munster Steel last week, ribbon cutting. That was good to see.
Went very well, and obviously the Munster Steel owners are very excited. This is a win for Munster as well, because obviously they're going to move forward pretty soon with their underpass project. So they needed Munster Steel to move somewhere else. I think they're happy that they're staying close to Munster, so the employees that are there can remain as employees. Yeah, the groundbreaking went great, and we have interest in the other property adjacent to the Munster Steel property, although the property itself is owned by the Urban Enterprise Association. We work hand in hand, and so we get a lot of phone calls at redevelopment as well. So groundbreaking went great. The mayor did thank the Redevelopment Commission. If you weren't there, he did thank the commissioners for all your hard work. So yeah, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, I think it was an excellent location. for the Munster Steel to, it's an excellent parcel of land there. It's gonna fit really well there.
Yeah, you don't want industrial too close to residential, and in that area, it's all industrial, so you're not really having any effect on any residential in the area, which is good.
Okay, well, thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Ms. Miller, do you have anything?
The only thing that I have, we've been finalizing the volunteer award ceremony. That's going to take place on November the 7th at the Dynasty. And I am also finalizing our 2014-2015 CDBG home and ESG budgets to submit to HUD. And that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you for your update. I guess number 11 are bills.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to pay the register of claims September 25th, 2013 through October 10th, 2013. Register of claims number R49361 through R49456.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the bills. Is there any more discussion on the bills? Okay. And then we have a roll call then on the bills, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Bills carry 4 yes, 1 absent. Okay, number 12, some new and unfinished business.
Commissioners, we put out an RFP for the home that we constructed on Lake Street. And in the RFP, we put today as the opening of the bids for that property. And we did receive 1 bid, so we want to have Mr. Westland open up the bid for the Lake Street home.
The bid is from Christopher Velez, $230,000, with a pre-approval from Horizon Bank. So I would suggest you could accept it. So, but, you know, the minimum bid on it was $230, and he met the minimum bid. I don't know if speed is an issue on that.
Yeah, I mean, being he's the only bidder, he's giving us the asking price for the property. My suggestion would be that, you know, obviously, making sure the bid is accurate and everything's according to our RFP. I would suggest that we make a motion to approve the bid.
Is this buyer asking for any concessions?
Say that again?
Is this buyer asking for any buyer concessions?
Didn't look like it, no.
It looked like, so it's nice, clean, 230.
He does want us to pay $5,000 towards buyer's closing costs and prepaid expenses.
So actually, now we're down to 225.
That's right.
He is the only bidder.
Correct. And obviously, we could turn to your expertise. It's been my experience that in these type of situations, there's always going to be some sort of ask. And being that they are the only bidder for the property, I would still suggest that we, with the Commissioner's agreement, still suggest that we accept the bid. Keep in mind that once we do sell this house, we're moving directly onto another house right next to it. We've completed 3 homes on Lake Street, and every time we built a home, it's sold almost before it's completed, which is a good sign for that area in Robertsdale. It's a very good sign.
No, I don't have a problem with that, but I was pretty sure it had to be some type of concessions in there, you know, because in this climate, you know, it's always asking for somebody to buy a concession, and that's why I asked. So,
Well, yeah, anytime you even a new home, there's, people are gonna make an offer, and that's a very reasonable offer, I think, so.
And we do have a letter, I think Dave stated this, but we have a letter from Horizon Bank approving them for the mortgage.
That's another positive thing, so since he was pre-approved.
They're a strong lender, they're a local lender.
Mm-hmm. So we need a motion to approve this bid
Yes,
from our commission?
yes.
I make a motion to accept this bid of $230,000 from, did you say it was Chris Velez?
Christopher Velez.
Christopher Velez.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the Lake Street home. Is there any more discussion on it? Can we have a roll call then, please?
Stover Presley?
Yes.
Navejas?
Yes.
Myrick?
Yes.
Albrecht?
Yes.
Leonard?
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent.
Commissioners, thank you for that. I think that's a great sign that the homes keep selling there, and
Absolutely.
the fact we just keep moving on to the next one is very good. United Neighborhoods Inc. just did something similar, building 2 homes at Parish View, and I hope that those homes sell as fast as these homes have. That'd be great for that area as well. The second thing is we wanted to address in new businesses. We received a letter at the last meeting where Bethany Child Care, it's a home, I believe, on Highland Street, was asking for us to potentially remove a lien off of the property for money that they borrowed from us in the past. The issue comes in, and really we talked to our attorneys on this, is that once you remove a lien on, or you go through this process and you potentially remove a lien for a specific hardship, you're setting a precedent for everybody else that we've borrowed money to. And it really does not necessarily, I want to make sure I say this correctly, but it really is, you're really setting a precedent. So as you start doing this, you're going to get more and more requests. So really, the way we look at this is that if somebody asks us to remove a lien, our initial answer always has to be no, because this is a federal program. We set out guidelines. They know what the guidelines are before we borrow them the money. So we would not necessarily remove a lien.
This issue has come up both in the standpoint in the past of homeowners who have borrowed money and in other situations. And my response to your staff has been the same every time, which is it's a policy decision, number one. But number two, if you're going to make that policy decision, you are going to set a precedent. So in making that policy decision, you better have objective criteria for which request is granted and which request is rejected. Because every situation is different. You don't want to get into a situation where somebody says, well, you gave them the break, but you didn't give us the break, and the reason is X, and you can't point to a list of reasons that are approved reasons. We don't have that, and without that objective criteria, my recommendation to you is that you would deny the request, because you are going to set a precedent going forward. And in the past, we've had the same issue, and the precedent we've set is, barring something completely catastrophic, and I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen the scenario where you would. We haven't removed a lien. So unless somebody wants to sit down and come up with pretty stringent, objective criteria, I think your answer has to be no.
My question was gonna be, is that something that you would take care of as our attorney?
I don't know what that criteria would be, though. And that's the struggle. When we've had it in the past, and I know Jen's had a couple with some, and I remember it was a couple months ago, there was an email exchange where I said, you know, it's up to you guys. However, I can't think of the criteria because everybody's situation is different, and how do you decide whether one is bad and the other one's worse, or I don't know how you do that. And especially then you factor in, once you establish that criteria in situations where you have federal funding, like Phil mentioned, I think you have to have those criteria approved by the funder. And I've never approached HUD, I don't think the staff has, to try to figure out what HUD would accept as acceptable criteria. So I don't really know the answer to the question other than, unfortunately at this point, the only time we've ever negotiated anything relative to that is if there's litigation, and then it's in the course of trying to make an economic decision that makes the most sense to the city and the commission. But just on a straight request, I mean, people are given guidelines for the program when they get into it, and I don't know how you relax those guidelines for one and not the others unless you have some sort of written formal policy that's allowing you to do it. So unfortunately, I concur with Phil. My recommendation would be that you reject the request. And, I mean, we could embark on having staff check with HUD or whatever to see if there are circumstances that they have that they recommend where you would accept that request, but I don't think you're going to come up with anything.
Being it's a letter, Dave, does it have to be an official motion? Or is it just, can we just write a letter back?
Yeah, that was my question.
I would make it as a motion of the commission, and then it would be communicated in the form of a letter from you. Or not, someone in your office.
So a motion to deny the request, but at the same time, have staff reach out to HUD and talk to them about these type of scenarios and see if they have some sort of policy or something that would help us in the future.
Correct.
Can I just say so moved? Or do I need to repeat what you said?
No, I think we have it. Cynthia, do you think you got that?
Okay, then, so moved.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. If there's no more discussion or questions on the Bethany Child Care Development Building, then we have a roll call on that.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries 4 yes, 1 absent. Is there any more new and unfinished business? Okay. Move on to number 13, public comments.
Commissioners, I'd like to publicly thank, since she's here, Councilwoman Venez, who unfortunately we had to have a special meeting yesterday here on Columbus Day to get our redevelopment budget approved due to when we put out our publication, it gave yesterday's date as the date that we would have it approved, and therefore we had to have a special meeting. 6 of the council people showed up. Councilwoman Venez was one of them, so I just want to publicly thank her for that.
I'd like to thank you too, Janet, for all your hard work you do for the city of Hammond. Okay, since there's no more public comment closed. Number 14, we have a motion for adjournment.
Mr. President, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.